Welcome, everybody. I'm really excited to be welcoming Julie Miles Lewis to our platform again today. It's so great to see you back, Julie. I know you did some work with us a little while ago. We had an interview with you, and then we interviewed you with a panel of women as well. So it's so great to have you. And this time you're here to be talking about thriving through challenges and change using your signature strengths. And anyone joining the call right now, or anyone listening in after the call was already completed, you'll want to know that Julie is a resilience coach. She is an adventurer and the author of Moving Mountains. Not only is she really passionate about all of the work that she does, but she is a woman that actually takes all of these actions. So bringing Julie to our forum today is an opportunity for parents and their children to be working together through the challenges that we're facing right now through our quarantine period of COVID-19, but also through the changes and adaptability. So Julie, welcome to the platform, and it's so great to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for inviting me along, and thank you to all the participants for joining us today. It's great that you've taken the time, first of all, to do the profile, the strengths profile as part of your self-awareness, and also carving out the time to be here with us today. I do believe that time is one of our most valuable assets. It's you can't buy time, but you spend it. And we all have 168 hours in the week. And some people still say they're time poor or they're time rich. And you'll get why I'm linking into time very shortly. I think one little exercise to do is to actually keep a time diary of how you spend your time, because how you spend your time is how you spend your life. And I think you'll be quite surprised when you keep a track of, you know, either by minute, by quarter hour, half hour, or full hour, how you actually spend your time. Now, the reason I've kind of tapped into the concept of time is when you know your signature strengths, when you know your strengths, you can save a lot of time because you can tap straight into those when you're navigating change or you've got an upcoming challenge and you think, that strength will help me with this. That strength will help me with this. So signature strengths, knowing yourself, saves you an awful lot of time, headache, mental and emotional energy. And, you know, the whole concept of know thyself is super powerful. So what we're going to do in today's session is keep it nice and light. And the format, I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit because it's about you today. Then we're going to talk about how I got into signature strengths, what they are, why they're important, and how they can be applied. And then for those of you that have completed your strengths profile, I've taken a couple of traits that are all showing up in your top 5. So there's some similarities, just to zone in on those, and then we can have some Q&As, and then we're done. So a little bit about me. I am based in Abu Dhabi. I'm the founder of Mountain High and Julie Lewis Consulting. My background's in sports science, so I was always very much actively involved in health, fitness, sports management, about performance, about doing well, using your mind and your body. I spent 18 years in the health and fitness industry and then had quite a career change by climbing my first mountain when I was 40, having an epiphany on top of the mountain and realizing, woof, I'm on a mountain, I'm on a high, I'm on a natural high, mountain high. That would be a really cool name for an organization. So since 2003, I've run around 70 expeditions to more than 20 countries, including the Arctic and Antarctica, leading teams through challenging and changing and unpredictable environments where we've really drawn on each other's strengths, just as individuals, but also as a team. How did I get involved with the strength-based leadership approach was that one of my signature topics that I talk a lot about is resilience. And I studied with a group of business psychologists in the UK, Nicholson McBride, and I also studied with Penn University online. And part of their resilience skills program was tapping into your signature strengths. So this is how I first found out about it a couple of years ago. So this is the VIA character strengths. There are other strength programs like Gallup, but this one is known as the VIA classification of character strengths. So that's how I got involved with that. And I just think it's so important to focus on what's strong and use your strengths to your advantage. And also when you're working in teams or with your family members even, to know each other's strengths, to see how you can support each other through challenges and change, and also to kind of boost your health and happiness, many, many reasons why. So let's talk a little bit about the 24 character strengths and 6 virtues. Now I am going to share a screenshot, I think. There we go. And hopefully we can see that. And it's just, it's not, I'm not sure if you can see the full one, but I've sent it to Maria. So I think we can send that out by email, or we could even put it in the chat box. But it just gives you an idea of the 24 character strengths and the 6 virtues. The virtues are wisdom, courage, humanity, justice, and temperance, and transcendence. And then rather than go through all the 24 character strengths, we can send those to you afterwards, basically. But that's just one of the screens I would like to share. There we go. So 24 character strengths and 6 virtues. And these character strengths are all positive qualities. When you look at them, they're all positive, affirming towards characters. Now, there are 24, and when you've done the profile, which some of you have, you'll find that you have your top 5, and these are known as your signature strengths. And if you look at the word signature, there's a sign of your nature in it. That's how I read it anyway. So these are the strengths that become the most natural to you. It's like if you write with your right hand, that's your dominant hand. These are some of your dominant strengths, something that you can use as rocks, as anchors. Now with these strengths, there's no right or wrong. Everybody is different. And I think the key thing is that when we know our strengths, our signature strengths, our middle and lower strengths, then it helps us to focus on what's strong, to tap into those as resources. We do have the capacity to express and develop all of them, and some of them are more relevant at certain times. I'll give you an example right now. My top skill, signature strength, is love of learning. And I've had to learn an awful lot about technology over the past couple of months, because I'm normally out speaking in public, I'm running events, I'm running retreats and expeditions, and all of a sudden the world is virtual, it's a digital highway. So I thought, oh my gosh, what signature strength do I need to tap into? And of course it's love of learning, mastering new skills, finding out about Zoom, finding out about Anchor, Menti, Microsoft Teams, all of these things. So it was actually energizing. So you find that your signature skills are energizers because you're naturally good at that. And of course you're going to have some middle and lower scores, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But basically your signature strengths represent who you are at your best. And I think that's kind of super important. They're very much like, why is this important? It's very much like knowing your core values. What's most important to you? How do you spend your time? How do you spend your money? What conversations are you having? And it's very clear, I think the science shows that if you're aware and you apply your signature strengths, you're 18 times more likely to flourish, whether it's in the good times, the bad times, or the downright ugly times, basically. So this is why it's so important. They increase your happiness, your engagement, they increase your value of relationships with people, especially if you're understanding each other's strength. They help you achieve your goals, they increase your performance, and it's just very much part of being a human, and it's very much part of our own personal development. And they're applicable to our businesses, to our lives, to our sports. And when it comes to choosing a career, for example, you could think, what's my top 5 signature strengths? Curiosity, love of learning, leadership, gratitude, social intelligence, for example. And these are things that you could actually put on your bio, your CV, you can tap into when you're asked that question, what are your strengths? and you bang, 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 you can answer straight away instead of thinking, what are my strengths? So it's very important to be able to know yourself. So that's kind of a very big picture overview of what signature strengths are, their signature strengths, their virtues, how we can apply them and why they're important. And one of the things I use with clients is using your signature strengths is if you identify an up and coming challenge, think of something that you're already dealing with or about to be dealing with. And then which of your strengths will you need to apply? Which ones will help you navigate that? And if it's a team of you, whether it's, it's something that a whole family or a whole team or an organization is going to be impacted by, then how can you combine those various strengths or areas of development to make sure that you really tackle this challenge head on, and instead of wasting a lot of time and energy running around in circles thinking, how do we do this, how do we do this, you actually tap into your strengths and your core values and then figure that out. So this is why it's important to be aware of them and know how to apply them in your business and your life and in your sports. And at that point, I'm just going to take a little bit of a commercial break and just kind of say, anybody got any questions or insights or aha moments that came out of that? Because that was a big picture overview rather than a deep dive in any specific skill or virtue. So do we have any questions on that at all? And you can pop that in the chat box. We can talk a little bit moving on to your profiles. That's what I think we will do next. But at this stage, if there's any questions, I'm ready and willing to answer.
Kira, is there anything you want to ask?
I don't think so. I think everything's pretty clear.
Excellent.
Good.
I love, Julie, how you say it's really a dynamic awareness. It's not something that, I think sometimes individuals tend to learn something about themselves and then they kind of put it away. I hear you saying, keep bringing it out, keep recognizing how you can be using them either in your career or even in your personal relationships, but it's always this information that's going to help. And what you said is knowing yourself and knowing who you are at your best. So I think that's really, really great. Let's keep going.
Sure. I mean, a lovely thing to do is with Post-it notes is to write down your signature strengths and put them on the bathroom mirror. And then when you're brushing your teeth in the morning, thinking, love of learning, honesty, zest, patience, gratitude, these are all positive, uplifting, that really ramp up your energy at the beginning of the day. And when you're in that, oh gosh, what do I need to do about this? Then go to your strengths. These are rocks, these are anchors, and you can rely on these. This is the best of you at the best of all time. So I think just having little Post-it notes, reminders, I have them on my desk, and I just put my top 5 in a little mind map, and I think, which one can I use? Which one can I use? I think really when I've worked with clients on this, because I kind of offer one-to-one mentoring and coaching on these, is, are there any surprises? When I got my test results back, I thought, yeah, the top 5, that's definitely me. But something like love was it was like number 24. And I was like, how can that be? I love people. I love being loved. And I thought, that's a surprise. And then I thought, well, okay, how can I focus more energy onto that? And it's something that I would like to focus on, of course. And how are they helping you, now? So my question would be for anybody that's done a signature strengths, are there any surprises that you thought, that's a bit strange? Are there strengths that family and friends would automatically say, yeah, that's definitely you? If you said, these are my top 5 strengths, they would say, that's a bit strange. I wouldn't think that of you. Or, yeah, that's definitely you. So it's an interesting question. I think we have somebody that's just joined us.
Yes, we do. We have Mrs. Chibber who's just joined us, and it's a great time to be joining. So Julie, just to kind of touch in on what you said right at the beginning, is they're all positive. So yes. Do you find that one of the challenges that individuals tend to have when they're doing their strengths is they always look for which one isn't right at the top? Do you find that individuals go, oh no, why isn't that right at the top? Is there any value in how you differentiate them, or are they all just across the board positive, and it's just what we're most naturally stronger at?
Yeah, I mean, we all have the ability to express and develop all of the 24 character strengths, and these have been identified over a period of time and deep research in all kinds of values and cultures about what are the things that are most important to human beings. And so they've identified these top 24. And as I mentioned, there's no right or wrong, there's just very, very different. And that's why we're unique. If we were all the same, then it'd be very, very boring, you know? I mean, this is why we have debates, we have discussions about things, and then people can find the yin to their yang, you know, black and white, up and down, hot and cold, there's all opposites. So knowing your strengths and knowing the strengths of your partner, for example, or your teammates, or your you know, organization, it just makes it so much easier, and you save so much time because you think they're really good at that. They're really good at that. You know, let's create this team where this dynamic interaction of our strengths, and just knowing that you could say, okay, I'd actually like to develop more my gratitude, for example. It's number 9. You know, it's self-awareness. It's not self-judging. It's just being aware that we have these, and these just happen to be our top 5. These are the middle and the lower. And the main goal is for people to focus on what's strong. It's very easy to say, oh, I'm not very good at this, I'm not very good at that. And then we need to shift that, lift and shift that thinking to what am I strong at? You know, what are my strengths? And also, you know, they're very intertwined with what are my values? You know, what's important to me? For example, my top value is my health, because without my health, then nothing else is possible, basically. So I think, you know, we talked about time earlier when we first opened up. You know, it's something that some people feel time poor and time rich. And my question is, how do you spend your time? You know, maybe now more than ever, people find that they're spending 60, 70% of their day looking at a screen on social media, looking at TV, and they're indoors. And for me, that would be like, oh no, I need to flip that. You know, I need to be outdoors and I need to be offline, because that's how I recharge my energy. So by knowing your signature strengths, they can play a key role in your success, whether it's in your business, your life, your relationships, your sports. And the question then would be, well, what impact do they have on others? Now, if you've got somebody that's got love of learning, for example, well, hopefully they're a teacher because, you know, they love learning, they love mastering new skills, and they love sharing that, because the way to, you know, reinforce the learning is to teach. So then just simply by looking at your skills and the impact potentially that they have on others, you know, kindness, gratitude, honesty. You know, if somebody asks you for, you know, your honest opinion, then I think it's important that you give it to them, and, you know, in a very nice diplomatic way, in a feedback sandwich, of course, tough love. So this is why it's kind of really, really important to be conscious of these. And obviously during certain periods of your life, during different transitions, it could be useful to do this test again in 3 months, in 6 months, and see if anything's changed. You could say, I'm really going to focus on the ones in the middle, or the ones at the, you know, the lower end, the 20 to 24. I'd like to focus more on that, because I think that's something I'd like to develop. So it's an area of development. They're not a weakness. You have it. It's just an area of development. So it's just like learning to write with your left hand when your dominant hand is right. It's now actually giving your left hand a little go, and to see how that works for you. What I actually did, the few of the profiles that we had submitted, I looked at a couple of the signature strengths that were across the board. So they appeared in the top 5 of all the people that completed these, or in at least in the top 10. And I'm going to choose curiosity as one of them, because this comes under the virtue of wisdom, by the way. And what does curiosity mean? I mean, this is about openness to experiences, to seeking novelty and taking an active interest in life, to new subjects, new topics, to exploring and building your knowledge in new places. So curious people are actively seeking new experiences. They're stepping out of their comfort zone. They learn something new, they master it, and then, right, what's next? What's next? So they're very inquisitive. They're going to be asking lots of questions. And as a child, I asked a ton of questions. I remember, please stop asking questions. And I remember one of my friends saying, no, you never say to your child, stop asking questions, because you want to encourage their curiosity. And curious people, generally speaking, tend to seek and find kind of greater meaning and purpose in life, because they're making sense of their world. And it's real opportunities for growth. It could be something as simple as trying different foods from different cultures. I travel a lot, or pre-COVID, I traveled a lot. And we're trying different foods. I wonder what that tastes like. How do you make that? Does that fruit or that vegetable grow here? So that's the kind of curiosity I'm talking about. And the curious people generally tend to be big readers, or watching things that will improve their knowledge. So curiosity came up in everybody. The reports that I've got came up in everybody's profile. And as I said, this is not, right or wrong. This is just how it is. And I think curiosity is a critical skill for anybody, regardless. What I thought was very, very interesting as well was spirituality came up. And people have different perceptions of what spirituality is. I think for me, spirituality and religion are completely separate. For me, though I look at the word spirituality and I look at spirit, and that's inspiration to breathe life into something, to boost your spirit. And this is really a trait of grounded and optimistic people that are resilient in the face of life's challenges, because they're at peace. They've got a deep sense of purpose and meaning, and that could be in their faith, whether that's Mother Nature, whether it's Buddhism, Hindu, or Islam, or Christianity. So it's a it's a faith and beliefs, and it's something greater than yourself. So for me, it's very, very much about Mother Nature, which is why I've got this lovely screen behind me, because, I just think tapping into the energy and the power of the mountains and the lakes and the trees and being at one, that's where, if I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed, I think I just need to go in nature, and that's my grounding, that fuels my spirit. And this, of course, contributes to your health, to your relationships, to your personal growth. It's one of those, when you go out into nature or you see something, you just go, that is just boosting my spirit, is soul food. It could be something as simple as spending 10 minutes meditating or praying, and thinking about experiences that you've had in nature in different people or different experiences that have allowed you to really forge very, very strong connections. So they're just a kind of couple of the signature traits that came in very, very strong. And I thought I'd focus on those two, but if there's any others that you would like me to have a little look at, and then we can open the floor to questions and answers. And then I have a nice little exercise to close out with called a grounding exercise. So whenever you do feel you're in a little bit of a flap, how you can ground yourself very quickly and then scoot over to your signature strength. So do we have any questions from the floor, or any other of the signature traits that you'd like a little bit more of a insight into? Any surprises for anybody that did the profile? Were there any surprises?
What do you mean by judgment? What does this mean by judgment?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me just check in with that one. I think judgment as well, I tend to think of something called consequential thinking. So you have a choice, and you kind of decide which choice, or you judge which is, right for you. So you're looking at the big picture, and then you're examining it from all sides, not just jumping in and just, acting before you really think. about doing something. And then kind of making informed decisions based on what is true for you, what you feel is fair, what you feel is right. So you can say somebody's a good judge of character. So, I mean, that's also part of social intelligence as well. So it's making smart, wise choices, you know, to have fair judgment, not to have just flippantly said, blah, 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 you know, that you've actually thought about it and, you know, what will happen if I do this? What will happen if I don't do this? And then so you're making a fair judgmental call. Now, you could look at it as another trait, which some people might think, you know, it's not a good trait, that you're so judgmental. You're looking at somebody and passing judgment on them. This really means, as I mentioned, they're all positive emotions. So judgment, there's always the shadow side of any trait, for example. So the shadow side of judgment would be to be judgmental, you know, to be judging other people based on your model of the world. So in the positive sense, which all of these are, and we also realize there's the flip side of it, that means judging is making sense, making choices, wise choices, and thinking of the consequences of making those choices. So you're kind of weighing things up before you jump in. So you're using that trait to help you make smart decisions. Does that help?
Yeah, that helps a lot, because whenever I think of judgment, I kind of think of it in a negative way.
Of course, yes, yeah. You know, and something like humor, for example, you know, to have a light, you know, to always be looking on the bright side, to have a giggle, to lighten people up. Then the opposite side of that, you know, the flip side of that is, you know, making somebody feel very uncomfortable, you know, cracking bad jokes that they just don't, you know, are inappropriate. So there's always the flip side of it, or the shadow side, or the dark side of it. And I think the focus is really, this is why, you know, I talk about focus on what's strong, what's not, you know, versus what's wrong. It's smart to know what the, you know, the flip side is, the dark side, the shadow side. And I think we can learn from that, you know, from all of our emotions and from all of our values and strengths. Well, you know, what's the opposite of that? And what would happen if I lived and breathed the opposite of that? You know, how would my life show up? Because coming back into that concept of time, how we spend our time is how we spend our life. You know, our thoughts, our feelings, our words, our actions all create results. And if you're living a life the way that you have chosen to live right now, and that's great for you, then it means that you've been making smart choices, you've been living by your values, you've been listening to yourself, that you know yourself. And when you find that life's out of sync, that things are a little bit haywire, I would always say, come back to, am I aligned with my values? Am I making decisions that move me towards my goal versus away my goals? Am I trying to please others instead of pleasing myself? You know, am I kind of trying to be something that I'm not because I feel I need to fit in? And my advice to every young woman and every young man is be yourself, you know? This is your uniqueness. And if we're all trying to be the same as somebody else, you know, I want to be different like the rest. It's just like, no, just be you. That's the most beautiful expression of yourself. And know that we're all going to have different values, different skill sets, different essences about us. And that's what makes it so exciting, you know. And I think by being curious and you find out about more people, you seek to understand other people's model, and you get different perspectives, and then you make your own decision about, is this true for me? You know, is this how I want to live my life? Are these the clothes that I want to wear just because X number of people are wearing them? Or do I just want to stick to what I like wearing, what I like doing? And, you know, and I think this is, you know, about being true to yourself and knowing yourself. So I hope that helped there, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. That was helpful. Thank you.
Very good, very good. Andrew, do you have any questions? I know you came in, you didn't miss an awful lot actually, but I mean, do you have any questions on just the discussions that we've been having just now?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Good.
So can I ask you, Julie, just going back to what you were talking about, you mentioned that it's okay, like we should be going back to it every 3 months to see if they've changed. Do you find that they will change naturally as we are going through challenges in our lives? So for example, going through COVID experiences right now, do you find that some of the strengths that maybe when we took the test prior to COVID, maybe they were like closer to 24, and now after experiencing 8 weeks of COVID, they might have been needed more, so they tend to come up more? Is that how it works?
Basically, I think, you know, the key word I think that comes to my mind every time is awareness, 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 and then understanding. So then you can change the script. If you're aware of something and you understand why it's happening, or how it's making you feel, or how it's creating circumstances around you, then by knowing what your strengths are, or knowing some of the middle and low and saying, well, that would be really useful right now, so now I'd like to focus more on that, then you would probably more than likely find that when you did the profile testing again in 3 months, I wouldn't say do it next week, you know, I'd say leave it 3 months, 6 months, because, you know, these changes, where everybody's experiencing them in very different ways. We're all in the same storm, but I think it's incorrect to say that we're all experiencing it in the same way. It depends whether you're a child, you know, a dog that's not getting out as much, you know, a single, a family, self-employed, where you are, you know, what are the restrictions or easing of restrictions. So I think it's very fair to say that yes, they can change. They wouldn't necessarily change, you know, number 24 jumps to number 1, unless you just said, I'm going to focus all my energy on that trait. I think you'll find like values, they pretty much stay the same, but you might find that 2 or 3 of them, because you've decided to focus on them and realize that this would be very useful for me during this time period, during this transition, then you focus more energy onto that. And then you would see the results of that. You know, if you change something slightly, then you get a different result. So yeah, that's a great question. I think, you know, self-awareness is key for absolutely everything. You know, how do I feel right now? How would I like to feel instead? You know, what is the number 1 emotion that I'm feeling? And is that empowering me, or is it disempowering me? So it's totally, you know, checking in with yourself. How do I feel right now? And, you know, a lovely question to ask yourself is, what do I need right now? You know, this is such a self-compassionate question. Do I need some advice? Do I need to have a good laugh? Do I need to have a good cry? You know, do I need a hug? Do I need some more resources? Do I need to read more? So this is a great question when you're feeling a little bit stuck, a bit overwhelmed, is to just really take 3 nice deep breaths and then just say, what do you need right now? And then gift it to yourself, or find somebody that can give that to you. And I think self-compassion now, I know that compassion is one of the traits. It's just so important. You know, compassion for yourself and for others and for the community and for the planet right now, because this is a challenging, unprecedented time. And the more we know ourselves, the more we love ourselves, the more kind we are to ourselves and to others, then the easier this kind of transition and evolution is.
Amazing.
I must say, when people say, I can't wait for things to go back to normal, I go, oh. I think, you know, it's important that we see this as an opportunity. There's gifts in this challenge, and there's challenges in this challenge, and to look at the gifts. And, you know, for example, the earth's breathing a lot more freely right now, you know, that I can hear birds singing. I mean, the skies are clear. There's many things. And I think rather than going back to normal, it would be, you know, stepping into a new world that we have co-created by saying, this is how I'd like my world to look like. These are my strengths. This is what I'd like to create for myself and for my family, or for my teams, or for my organization. So it's kind of an evolution. We've all had this opportunity to press pause and reset and refocus on what's important and get to know ourselves an awful lot more and probably we ever do, because we're always busy, you know, and some people are loving it, and some people are saying, gosh, you know, I don't know what to do with myself. And I think, wow, oh, I can keep myself busy anyway, but, you know, and I think it's getting the balance between solitude and really being with yourself and social connections. So, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing.
Okay. Any comments? Let's have a little look in the chat box. Ooh, the strong silent type. What's going to be useful for you is to, obviously, Maria has my contact details. If you felt, tomorrow or, a few days after you think, oh, I wish I'd asked this, or I want to, tap into this a little bit more, then please feel free to get in touch with me through Maria, or, my website is julie-lewis.com. So that's nice and easy for people. I can tap that into the chat box, actually. There we go. And I am based in Abu Dhabi. So I think everyone is based in Dubai. So I'm literally an hour or so up the highway from you. And Maria and I have had some lovely long chats about what possibilities there could be moving forward to be, live in person as opposed to live virtually. So there is, looking ahead, which I think is a smart thing to do, with creating some things that we would like to do.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So talk to us, Julie, about the next steps. What can we do now that we've heard what they mean, we've learned how to use them? How can we take them away after this session with you? And, how can we self-reflect and make the best of them moving forward?
Yes, sure. I think what is fun to do, as I mentioned, I think the top 5, you can put them on Post-it notes. You can, this is your kind of reinforcement. This is your, your pep talk, your self-talk, that, you have those. So you're seeing them around. Some people put them on a little card. And then, when they're feeling a little bit, oh, I need a little bit of a pep up, and they look at it and think, yes, social intelligence, humor, spirituality, curiosity. These are my strengths. How can I put my strengths to work today? So that's a very, very simple thing that you can do. You can look at the ones that are, not in your top 5 and dive deeper. Google, what does this mean? Merriam-Webster says that ... this is this. What does that mean to me? How can I bring that more into my life? Decide which ones you would like to focus on, that you were a little bit surprised that they weren't in the top 5 or in the top 10, and how they could show up in either in your business, in your relationships, in your career, in your everyday living, or in your sports. So I think the Post-it notes are great. Little reminders everywhere when you need that little nudge to think, love of learning, I can use that skill right now. To look at some of the other skills, Google them, really research more and more depth meaning. If you wanted to, via character strengths, basically, there is something called a pathways report, and that's a little bit more involved. It's probably around 22 pages. There is a cost to that, but you can actually order it, and it's a download from viacharacter.org, and it's a 20-page document that really dives deeper, and I think it's $20, something like that. So it's something that, if you wanted to dive a little bit deeper, it's a useful document to have. So that would be one port of call. And I think it's just discussing them with your, family members, say, these are my top 5 strengths. Do you think this is correct? What is that a surprise for you, or it's not a surprise? Just have some fun with it. This is not, being tested, assessed, that's wrong or that's right. And it's not a pass or fail, as I mentioned before. These are, strengths that you can rely on, tap into, utilize, and say to them, look, I can help you with that because I'm a very curious person, and I can do lots of research and ask lots of questions, and I'll be able to help you with that. Or, my traits is kindness or perseverance or gratitude. Gratitude is huge right now when people are saying, how hard times are. I say, are you still breathing? Yes. Okay. So that's good. Do you have food in your fridge? Do you have a roof over your head? Do you have access to technology? Do you have friends? Do you have, so just thank you, thank you, thank you. It's a huge pep up in the morning. Thank you. I woke up again. I've got a lovely, lovely day on the planet. Thank you for the sun. Thank you for the trees. Thank you for, the more times we say thank you, the more times we have things to be thankful for. So gratitude is a huge one. And I'm going to say a huge, huge thanks for today, definitely. Now, this is great because Maria is very tech savvy. I have to catch up and chase her. She's doing polls and all kinds of different things on there. I just discovered something called Mentimeter or something on a program I was on yesterday, and it allowed people to put in words like, how do you feel right now? So rather than put it in the chat box, it came up and it made a word cloud. So all of a sudden the group has got this word cloud of how, the general group feeling is. Yeah.
I'm definitely going to look into that Mentimeter. But I just want to thank everyone for coming as well. I'm always really keen on learning new tips and strategies to become more self-aware and really reflect within ourselves. So having this for both parents and our students has been an excellent opportunity. Anyone missing out on it, this is definitely going to be shared on our platforms within our community and our parents. And Julie, I hope to see you again doing some more work with us in the coming months and of course in the new academic year as well.
Will be my pleasure. Thank you so much.
So great.
And thank you, Andrew and Kiara. No, how to remind? Kira, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Chiba, for joining us as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
It's so fantastic. And Julie, how can we learn more about the work that you do in the adventure trips? Because I know that you travel around the world, obviously post-COVID, and you are thinking about some gap year experiences. So how do we reach out and connect with you? I saw that you put your website on. And
yes.
Is there another way that we can connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. So all the social media is on my website, julie-lewis.com. It also has a link to mountainhighme.com, which is due for a huge revamp. So that's my project for the next few days, really, to really revamp that. And that's going to be the evolution of that. So that's the best way to keep in touch with me. And yeah, I think that would be lovely.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kira, for joining us. And
Thank
it was
you,
so
Kira.
great. It was so great having you here. The voice of the youth is always fantastic on these calls.
Yes, very much so.
And I think that brings us to a wrap for today. Thank you again. And anyone tuning in right now, that was DESCareers and our Bring a Parent to a Workshop COVID-19 experience with Julie Lewis, who is a travel adventurer, a speaker, the author of Moving Mountains, and a wonderful life coach working with individuals all over the world and helping them go from where they are to adventure, I think is how I'd like to describe Julie. And that's it for us today. I look forward to seeing you all on our next digital spotlight or maybe our next digital workshop. Thank you for watching, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.